Get caught in a net with ANet. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with ANet. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with ANet.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet, where your hosts, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need ANet? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet. I'm your host, Annette Harris. Thank you so much for joining us on today, for watching and or listening. Listen, there are a couple of ways that you can listen to us on today. You can, of course, go to my Facebook page, ANet, GetcaughtinANet, and then we are on my YouTube channel right now. You can hear the audio portion. So if you go to YouTube and type in Get Caught in a Net, you will hear us live. And at the end of this episode, what we're going to do is upload the video portion to that same channel as well. So thank you for coming in. Let me do this before I get started. I get so excited because I have a wonderful guest on today. Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for this wonderful day that you've blessed us to see. We thank you for what you're doing in our lives and how you are opening up doors and making ways. We pray that you will get the glory out of this session and everything we go to say and do in Jesus' name. And our opening scripture that I know and like to quote is the first part of Hosea 4:6. And it states, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And again, we're grateful to be here on this afternoon. I always say, if you see my face 12 noon Central Standard Time on a Wednesday, it's time for you to come on and get caught in a net. I am excited to feature another millennial. You all know I'm attracted to the millennials, if I can say it like that. I love what they're doing. I love to push and promote them as much as I can. And I'm going to do that again on today. I've known this young lady for a while now, for some years, and I have only seen excellence in her from the first time that I've met her. So she has done a great thing. She is an author, but she's done so many other things. And what we're going to do today is to talk about this wonderful book that she's authored, in addition to the other hats that she wears. So I wanted to bring her in on today and just reminding you all that what I felt the Lord had given me at the beginning of the year was the theme. 2002 is the year, 2022. Woohoo, is the year of healing. Talking too fast. Let me slow down a little bit. But I believe he gave that to me. And so what we have been doing in our various broadcasts is to bring out that to talk about healing in various ways. And so when we talk today about the confessions of a frustrated millennial, we're going to talk about that healing portion as well. So healing can come in different ways, guys. It's not just physical, and we all know that. But I do want to thank all of you that are coming in. I do appreciate you. I see my Aunt Ravi is on. Thanks for coming in, Auntie. I appreciate you. I think I see, Beatrice. Yes, I see you. Brandy is on as well, and there are other names here. I think I saw Ida Gill, Auntie Ida. Thanks for coming in as well. When you guys do come in, go ahead, click that share button, click the share button. I would really, really appreciate it. I neglected to tell you, I am live on Instagram as well. So on my page on Instagram, GetcaughtinANet. So when you guys come on in, go ahead, click that share button. I always tell you, it costs you nothing. So I am going to ask you, Eugenia, how are you feeling on today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You look great. And I'm so excited. We finally made this connection, guys, to have her on today. So I don't think you guys are going to be disappointed at all. Let me read a little bit about Eugenia, and then I'm going to have her introduce her own self. But I have here that she is a writer, a podcaster, and a small business owner. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in journalism from Eastern Illinois University and a master's degree in integrated marketing communications from Roosevelt University. She wrote her first novel, Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial, which was published in 2017. In 2021, she founded and owns an online business shop called Melanin and Happy, which sells expressive t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and other accessories that highlight many multifaceted aspects of Black culture. In that same year, she started her podcast, A Scoop of Melanin. I love it. That focuses on various topics and stories of Millennial, Generation Z, Black creatives, and Black entrepreneurs. And we have here that she's the author and founder and owner of Melanin and Happy. And we want you to be encouraged to purchase her book, again, which is entitled Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. So welcome again to Mind, Body, and Soul, Eugenia R. Jefferson. Throw her middle initial in there. We are so glad that you are here with us on today. So do me a favor. Introduce yourself in your own words to my listeners so that they will know who you are and just a little bit about you.
Sure. It feels different being on the other side because I'm usually the podcaster interviewing other people. So it's a bit of a adjustment. I would say, like, you basically described all of those things. I am an author. I wrote a book, Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial, back in 2017. And last year, I just started a small business, Melanin and Happy, and also a podcast called Scoop of Melanin. So as you can see, I love melanin. And I basically just work on those things and just kind of like to all of them kind of coincide together. The podcast kind of promotes everything else, and I talk to interesting people like yourself, and it's just been kind of going from there.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely a woman on the move, and obviously, melanin, as you stated, is the basis of the many things that you have created or founded. So let me ask you though, the book itself. what was the catalyst for you writing this book? Where did it come in, like from an experience, or what was your catalyst?
So I would have to go all the way back to like I would say 2013. So at that time I was in my mid-20s. I was at a job. It didn't really work out during that time. That was kind of like my first big disappointment. And in 2013, when they let me go, I kind of went through this kind of depressive stage. This is the kind of first big failure. And I just was like, where do I go from here? I did not see myself where I thought, my peers were, advancing. It seemed like they were at that time. And I just felt stuck. And so I was like, I didn't really write. Actually, let me take that back. I've always wrote as a kid. I always wanted to be a writer. But when I became an adult, I kind of just was like, this is not going to make any money. I'm going to set that aside. That's why I majored in journalism. I was like, okay, I can write, but I can make money. So I was like, okay, let me just set that aside. During that time, I just felt like writing was very cathartic for me. So I wrote one of the first characters, Natasha. She was the one that I felt the most connected with. And during that time, I just was like, I was on and off in between jobs. I freelanced for like 2 years. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to just continue to write this story. But I kind of was like, I felt like I need to add more. But I didn't want to add it more to just one character. I wanted to, so I added the other two characters, which were Danielle and Jayla. And I really wasn't anticipating on publishing this. It was more of just kind of for me, I can write this story and kind of, I thought maybe it would be a short story, maybe for myself. Usually most stories I would just kind of throw away eventually. But I talked to my cousin, and like he's a successful producer, and he, kind of basically encouraged me to finish it. And I just was like, during this time, I was like, especially when I was in between jobs, I basically finished the book from there. So.
Okay. Wow. Now, see, I didn't know that you had an interest in being a writer when you were young. Okay, so that was like the base of you writing. Okay, that's interesting. And so you really weren't intending on making this into a novel.
No.
It was just really something for you.
Yes.
And you know what? I can kind of understand that, because sometimes the way for me to express myself a lot of times is to just sit and write.
Mm-hmm.
I can take my time. I can get my thoughts out that way. I may be feeling, something on a particular, something maybe in the news or something or whatever, or something going on in my life. Sometimes I'll just take time out and just write, but it doesn't mean that I want it to turn into a book. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Mm-hmm. But obviously, well, thank God for your cousin, pushing you to finish this book. But then you said that you related to one character and you had to add additional ones. Now, obviously, your experience with that job that didn't work out was, that was the catalyst. But then you obviously wanted to go a little bit further with that and addressing situations that your generation deals with. That's what it sounds like to me. And hence the title. How did you come up with the title anyway?
Well, I was frustrated. I mean, basically that was it. At first, I was going to title it "Confessions of a Frustrated Black Girl," and I was like, well, since I have Black girls on the title, it's kind of, that's already noted. So I was like, let me just change it to Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. And it's kind of funny because it's like, millennials are getting older now. So it's like, it's not exactly now in like the Gen Zs now are coming into that age bracket that my book is in now. And they may have a totally different experience, especially they have endured the pandemic and other stuff. And also they're slightly a form of us, but a little bit more bolder, which I appreciate. They like, we may endure some things and like a bad job, they will quit it. I'm like, that's great for you, especially for your mental health. I understand, so things might be, but I think like the main point of this book is that, like, disappointment, I think, is basically the main theme, is that all of my characters experience some type of disappointment. I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question.
No, you're fine.
But the main theme is kind of like that underlying theme is that disappointment. I think we all can, relate to that in some type of way, especially as you get older, as you start to live life, things don't work out exactly the way you anticipate it to work out. It can be a failed engagement, it can be a failed job, it can be, someone passes away. There are so many things that people don't anticipate. And I think, like, with all of my characters, they thought they saw themselves here at a certain age. And I think a lot of millennials and even people Gen X or Gen Z kind of have that same predicament. You want to kind of plan out your life, and it doesn't go the way you expect it to go.
No, it doesn't. I actually did in my pre show today. I said, you know what, this is not just for millennials, because we all get frustrated, and for a lot of the reasons that you've already mentioned, a death in the family, or something happened with a relationship, or whatever, jobs, anything, we can understand that there is possibly going to be, or there could be, frustration. So, we don't just limit it, to just one generation, or one race even, or one gender. So we can all definitely relate. Listen, I want to ask you guys, when you come in, hi, Michael, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. I see you, Angela, as well. If you have any questions for my guests or any comments, please make sure you go ahead and type those in. I will go back and forth and look to see what you have also on Instagram and YouTube as well. So again, we're talking with author Eugenia Jefferson, and the title of her book is Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. But you know what, we've already mentioned about how it can relate to anyone and everyone. And thanks for telling that about the book, the title of your book, because sometimes you can have something in mind and then you're like, maybe I need to redirect this. And I think that when you retitled it, if I could say it that way, I think you were going to be able to grab in more people who could relate. And not that if you had left in the term Black, that it would have, shooed anyone away or only been directly for a certain group of people. Some people could have looked at it that way. But I do think that when you said frustrated millennial, that it will encompass more people. And you probably thought that too. Maybe that's why you ended up changing it. So that was very intelligent on your part. Seeing that it is definitely important to write about your generation. That's what I hear. So how do you think, this is before your book came out, that your generation would receive this particular book, the content of your book and everything that you discussed? What were you thinking before your book came out?
I wasn't really sure how it would be received. I think for me, it was more cathartic to kind of just write down, and not every single thing that happened in the book happened to me too. I want to make that clear too. A lot of people are like, oh, they're trying to be nosy. I'm like, no, not every single thing happened, but there are some things that I know that people can relate to. There are other people's experience I've learned, I've implemented in a book as well. But I think that the feedback I received from a lot of people at that time when I published the book was pretty shocking, in a good way. Because a lot of people was like, I can relate to this book. I felt the same way, or I feel like, people would tell me, oh, their favorite character was Jayla. They can relate to her and relate to Natasha. And I'm like, wow, that's, to me, like, as a person that is very invested in characters, whether I'm watching a book or a TV show, I love to hear that, you have a certain character that you're drawn to. So I think that, getting that feedback, especially sometimes people would tell me directly, or even in the comments of Amazon, where it's located. But yeah, it's really pretty surreal to find out I'm not alone. I think, like, I wrote the book for me, and to know that other people out there are experiencing the same things, it's pretty surreal.
Okay. Well, that's good. Well, that was a good segue to tell them where they could find your book, because we do want them to make sure that they purchase it and support you. So where can they find your book?
It's on Amazon, or you can go to eugeniajefferson.com. So yeah, currently right now.
Oh, okay. So they can go. Let me see. I know that sometimes some people help me out with putting this on here. I don't know if you caught that, Brandy. If you're still on, can you put the website, which is, you say, Eugenia Jefferson?
Yes, but I know most people misspell my name, so I'm like, go to Amazon. Go to Amazon. You just put in the book name.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Okay. So the easiest thing, she said, would be to go to Amazon and look up the book, the Confessions. Is it The Confessions or Confessions?
No, Confessions. Just
Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. So you guys make sure you go there and reach out to her, support her. This is some good stuff here, though. I'm telling you. I see some of you authors coming in here. I see you, Gina. I see you, Apostle Hunt, my co-host. I appreciate you. Again, when you guys come in, click the share button, so that everybody will know that we're on and they can meet Eugenia on today. So let's see here. Now, wait a minute, which was the character that you said you can relate to?
So there's a couple of, there's a bits and pieces of me, especially, I feel like there's a bit of Natasha and Danielle and Jayla.
Okay.
I would say maybe Jayla, I like a little bit, probably the most favorite to write. But I like all of them. I think that all of them can relate into some type of way. I mean, they all have dreams. They all want to succeed in their life.
Okay.
They all have challenges.
Okay. Now, without giving the book away, because we do want them to purchase it, tell me one reason why you think you can relate to Jayla. Some characteristic or something. I
think with Jayla, so the premise of Jayla is that she graduated from law school, and she basically kind of goes backwards. She spent a year in Boston, didn't really land a full-time job. She's been freelancing, and so she's kind of forced to move back with her family. And and then also she has a cousin, Sydney, that is, I feel like Sydney is kind of representative of all of social media, that is kind of like, they have it all together. They have the, they're going to Dubai. They have the, the Damon Idris now, or, whatever hot man on their arm, or, adoring them. They have, the perfect body, so to speak. And, we see these images on social media, and she, like, and in addition, it's all in kind of Jayla's face. So I kind of like that kind of like tension between her, Jayla, and Sydney. kind of in that way, because Jayla's, Sydney is also very egotistical and kind of narcissistic. Everything has to be about her. And, she kind of uses kind of Jayla as a punching bag. Not saying that's me, but like there was like, a form of kind of like I said, I think like Sydney is representative of what sometimes you do the comparison. And I remember in my 20s, like I had to really stop myself from doing a comparison of, okay, this person, I see this person on social media, they have all of this, they have what I have. And, you start to get jealous. And I'm like, we shouldn't be trying to run or keep up with someone else when that is not your journey. And I think that's what, I'm not giving all of it away, but like Jayla's situation is very similar to what many people already see on social media. We see like we're competing against perfect strangers and don't know what they're going through. And so I think like, and we'll see even with Sydney, like not everything is what it seems. And so I think that it's indicative to kind of, see the whole picture, and also like run your own race too. It may not look like everyone's journey. Your journey may not look like this other person's journey, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh man, you're saying a whole word right there. Somebody might say that'll preach, because it will. Because honestly, you mentioned about millennials, but I'm gonna tell you, there's some Generation X, there's some baby boomers who are feeling the same way, or trying to compare themselves. And sometimes they do it without realizing that that's what they're doing, but then others have a real hard time with that, especially the fact that social media is so it's all in our face, and it's like it's here to stay. And even so much more now, of course, within these past 2 or 3 years, what have we had to do? We've really had to communicate and do things via, the internet, social media, what have you. And so then you have these individuals who are not, I always say a lot of times, sometimes it starts within, how do you feel about yourself? And then a lot of times that will make them start comparing, oh, I see this one over here. Oh, look at that. They have a nice body or whatever. I want my body to be like that, or something like, or I want to look like that. So yeah, it's amazing how we will do, we're doing ourselves a disservice when we do that. But unfortunately, sometimes people have to get to that point to realize that that's what they're doing. So thank you for making that comment. Let's see, Auntie Deborah, Karen, I see you guys on. Thanks so much. And I appreciate you guys for sharing. You're telling me you're sharing. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the name of the book, Gina. Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial, not Millennium, Millennial. Okay. Let me see. But thank you for putting that in there. Let's see. Let me move on, because I know we only have a little bit of time today. We're only here for an hour. So let me see. I've already gone over the characters, the plot, and all that. What is one significant way that your book has changed since you wrote your first draft? Like because I'm sure you had a few drafts of it, didn't you? Okay. So what was one significant way that it changed from the initial draft to whichever number draft it was?
Yeah, it was a lot of drafts. I think at one point I was sick of it. I would say, like, I did change Jayla's profession, and there was a couple other stuff. Natasha's story kind of stayed the same. There were certain endings that I kind of like decided to go with a little different than I wanted to. So I would say, like, just more of, a plot line that I wanted them to have an ending that was pleasing.
Okay.
I'll just say that.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's good. Now, how long did it take you to write the book?
So on and off, it took 2 years.
Okay.
So it wasn't something, and I'm a lazy writer, I'm not gonna lie. Everybody keeps asking, when is the second book coming out? I'm like, I don't know. When is Rihanna's album coming out? We don't know. So
I
that's
get it.
that's it. But I would say, yeah, on and off for 2 years.
Okay.
It really just kind of, which was a blessing, because I would say I started in 2013, I finished in 2015. It took me kind of I was able to kind of add a little bit more to Jayla's story, out of some of the experiences I went through, as
Mhm.
well as Danielle, because I wanted, like I said, I started with Natasha's story. And the chapters were really kind of short, and so I was like, this can't be a book per se if it was just her. So that's when I added the rest of them.
Okay.
Um, and I know some people also have asked me, like, why aren't they all friends and doing this together? I thought that was a bit cliche. So I always like to keep them separate. Well, at least for this book, keep them separate, to show also that sometimes people that don't know each other are going through the same things. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my premise.
Okay. Now, well, that's a perfect way to look at it, because you're right. We already mentioned about everybody goes through, but then sometimes if you know that somebody over here, maybe they're your same age or around your same age or something, and they're dealing with it too. I'm not, like you said earlier, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. And that can help push us, to go through or to make it through. So that's good. So how would you describe your book's ideal reader?
Um, it's funny because, like, as I'm older than my characters now. So I'm like, wrote this book in my mid-20s now, in my 30s, and I'm just like, I see things a little bit differently. I would say for anybody that feels maybe stuck or frustrated, to kind of know that, even if we add in spirituality, God is the one writing our story, so we shouldn't worry per se. And even though it's called Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial, I I kind of wish that, like, I will probably change it to, like, someone who is just frustrated in general, because it's not just for millennials. It's not a it's also not a study of millennials because I am just one millennial. A lot of people try to use it as, like, I can study millennials or understand. No, that's just one aspect of it. And also, I think it's for anybody just feels like, my life is not going the way I expected to go. I thought I would be further. I even hear people, even in their 30s, like, I thought I would be further in life.
Mm.
And then we had a whole pandemic that kind of just stagnated us all for 2 years. And so, you have certain things that kind of was at a halt. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just like more of an encouraging book, but not non-preachy. Like, I try not to be like, Tyler Perry-ish. No offense to Tyler Perry, but like, you know, um, God will work it all out. And I think God will work it all out, but to also add in that, you have to have faith that it will work out.
Yes.
Faith in God that it will work out. So it's
Yeah.
like God is the underlying factor there. And
Yeah.
also, there's other stuff that I know, in particular, like Natasha with forgiveness and stuff like that. That is one of the factors, and other stuff as well. So
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good right there. You are inspiring some people on here. Auntie Deborah says she wants to write, but she's stuck. So with that in mind, are there any advice, tips, or whatever you would give someone that feels that they want to write? Do you feel that you can give them any kind of advice?
To be honest, like I said, I'm a lazy writer. I understand. I'm a lazy writer. It's taken me it's been 5 years since my last book, and I'm still on the second book. So, and I've changed stuff around. I would say, like I was talking to one of my friends who wants to write a book as well. It just is really about taking up the time to do so. I think like a book is such a big project that a lot of people get caught up in, like, I have to write 300 pages. When really in reality, if you set aside maybe an hour a day or an hour on maybe 3 hours on a weekend or something you can carve out time for, instead of maybe, doing other stuff that may not be beneficial, you can set aside that time to actually just write. And I know with me, it's just like I like to have structure. So I like to kind of know where I'm going. I have like a blueprint of where I'm going. And then from there, it will be easier for me to write. So but I think the biggest thing is just setting aside that time, because even if you do like a page a day, think about it, a page a day, 7 pages, if you do one every day, or even if you skip Sunday because it's Sabbath, 6 pages a day, 6 pages a week, not 6 pages a day, but like if you do a page a day, 6 pages a week, that's, even if you consistently do that, that's 24 pages. I'm bad at math, but it's 24 pages a month, right? So I mean, even that can be something, I think it's just more of just setting aside that time to do so. And it also, you don't have to feel a pressure to do something right away. I think that the structure is more important than how many pages you write. I've seen a lot of people write a bunch of pages and it'd be a bunch of
not structured.
Yeah, it's like a TV show. I'm a big TV fan, so it's like, you can tell when something was kind of thrown together and things don't match, whereas something that was well thought of, there's a difference between a Shonda Rhimes and Joe Schmo that just got a deal on CBS, and you're like, what type of show is this? And it gets canceled. So it's the same thing with a book. You don't want to just write to just be writing. You want to be thoughtful and make sure you understand what you're writing. You make sure, maybe have someone else also to read over it. I think that there's power in numbers, maybe getting a person that you trust to read over what you're writing, because you're not going to see your mistakes too. I think after a while, like even for me, I had to get an editor to edit my book because I wasn't seeing it anymore. And so like having a community of people to give feedback is important. So I think, like I said, probably the main thing is to set aside time to write.
Okay. To initially get them started. So
yes.
So to do it, just to do it. So hopefully that answered your question. Let's see. Buddy Gill, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Again, we're talking to my guest today, Eugenia Jefferson. She is the author of Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. I do want to ask you, your book has been out for a little bit now, and I'm sure you've gotten feedback. You talked a little bit about that earlier. But what does Eugenia want this book to accomplish? Do you just want people to just share their frustrations, or do you want it to go further than that? What is your ideal accomplishment for this book?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I guess, I would say like for people to just know they're not alone. I think that's just going back to that premise of knowing they're not alone, and it's okay to be frustrated. I think a lot of people, but not stay in the frustration too.
Right.
I think that's also noted. I think especially in Christianity, we kind of feel like, you shouldn't be frustrated. God is good, which is true. But it's okay. Like there were people in the Bible that were clearly frustrated. Moses, when he hit that rock, that's why he didn't go to the promised land. Got frustrated. So I think it's okay to show human emotion, and to know that you're not alone. But yeah, I mean, I have thought about possibly making maybe a short story of a follow-up, maybe of my characters in their 30s, which is a whole different story sometimes. But I haven't really had like much time to think like this is gonna be like a play or movie or something.
Okay. All right. Well, you might want to think about that, because I mean, you definitely need, like you said, a sequel or follow up. I shouldn't say need. It would be nice, no pressure, to have a sequel or follow up to it. You know, like you said, individuals advancing. In the chronological age. You wrote it when you're in your 20s. You were relating to those who are in their 20s. You're in your 30s now. And so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it would help others to see this book, maybe in that they can relate to in their age range or whatever they're dealing with at that time. So I think that would be good. They're loving your title on here. I saw this comment earlier. I didn't get a chance to read it. They said that what a title. But yeah, that's I think it is a good title, actually. Let me ask you this question. This is kind of off book topic, but if you can spend a day with another popular author, who would that author be?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. It's funny. I like chick lit. So chick lit is kind of like women's literature, but it focuses on kind of like women's stories, per se. And one of like, there were 3 authors that I could think of. One is Emily Giffin. I like her writing style, which is funny because she follows me on Instagram, and which is pretty cool. And there's another one called Sophie Kinsella. She wrote, actually, I think it's called Confessions of a Shopaholic. Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole like series, and I love her writing style as well. And the last one is aren't maybe I don't know about them, but Jasmine Gil, I think her name is Jasmine Gilroy. She wrote The Wedding Date, and I really like all of their writing styles. I really like, and that's where I kind of got like, especially I like dialogue. I think you can learn a lot from dialogue, and they have like great descriptions and also dialogues in their books. So okay, all right. Well, good. You sounds a loaded question, but you answered it well. Because there's so many more. I mean, there are other authors I admire that have great writing styles as well. But those are the ones I relate to the most, that I would say like I studied their writing style and kind of almost tried to mimic what they had, especially Sophie Kinsella and Emily Giffin, because they were like the chick lit books of that time, that when I was younger, reading those. Yeah, it's great to join that category.
Right. I never heard of chick lit. Okay, so that's maybe I'll need to
like
check
chick, it's like chick movies, like you see like chick lit chick movies or whatever. I'm probably saying it wrong, but yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. Okay, I didn't mention your name, Janetta. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you. Let's see. All right, so you've already given advice to those who want to become an author and the main takeaway for your readers. Now, I want to do this. I want to ask you real quick, because you're a podcaster and you're also a small business owner. Now, and I think you started both of those in 2021. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So obviously it was after your book. How did you even bring in, because we've already talked about the titles having melanin in it, for the online business shop that you have, and then your podcast. What impact did writing the book have on you becoming a podcaster and online business owner?
So everything kind of like stems from, I guess, Black culture. I feel like over the past couple of years, we have created more of an open space to be more embracive of Black culture. I did not anticipate melanin being in both shop and but I told one of my friends about a scoop of melanin, and I was like, I think I should change the name. At first I was going to change it to like introvert talk or something, because I'm an introvert as well. And it just kind of stuck. I was like, well, hopefully people won't get mixed up.
Right.
A scoop of melanin in particularly, so because of my journalism background, back in the day, they used to call it like, I got a scoop, as a story. So it's based off, I guess, a story of different stories of Black people. Okay. I just kind of, I've been drawn to podcasts over the past couple of years. And so I wanted to, I knew a bunch of people that were, I knew personally that I knew was doing great things. I talked to one of my former classmates. He's a financial consultant. Another one, I talked to the narrator of my audio book. Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial is also an audio book you can listen to in Audible. I don't know if I said that before, but actually that episode is out today. And like other people, like I talked to my friend who's a content creator, and one of my other friends, she's a Black Latina, and she has a nonprofit helping Latina women. And so I find people's stories very interesting. And I think like it's maybe the storyteller in me that kind of like wants to bring it out. And so that's where the podcast comes from. And also kind of the same realm of my shop, just wanted to kind of have different ways of kind of expressing different types of Blackness. I feel like, some Blackness is very monolith, and we have some commonality, but also there's different types of stuff, and I just want to like just have like little slogans or something to kind of express it. But yeah,
that's good though. That's good. And especially seeing, like you said, what we've been dealing with this past few years, it kind of brings that more to light for each of us. And so you just capitalize off of it. So that was a good thing. So they can subscribe to your podcast. Where can they find your podcast? Are you on all the various platforms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Apple, Spotify, Breaker. I don't know. No. Everywhere. I would say Spotify, Apple, everywhere that you can find, Google, everywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah. And we do know, I'm finding more and more that millennials love podcasts. Oh my gosh. They'll just, and it's almost like podcasting to me is almost like the radio for us back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. What was that?
Oh, no, it's okay. I mean, it's like pre-recorded stuff, and it's stuff, different topics. Like I love a variety of podcasts. So like, I listen to a money podcast called like Brown Ambition, and one of my favorite ones, Kevin on Stage. He has Here's the Thing, and so it's just like a variety of stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and when I say radio, I meant like terrestrial radio, like you're sitting in your car and you can just turn it on. That's what it reminds me of from what I grew up in. But it's more advanced now, of course, and it's you can get it online and all of that. So, or apps, so to speak. But yeah, that's what podcasting reminds me of. And I do think that more of your generation would probably flock to podcasting, listening, or being a host of a podcast show than anything. And I know that there are older ones. What was that?
I say we have so many people like coming out with podcasts. It's just like every couple of months I see a new podcast come up and I'm like, oh, okay, got to listen
Yeah.
to that. So yeah, it's pretty
Right.
cool. It's kind of
Okay.
interesting because I don't know if it'll continue. Like I heard like now Gen Z don't listen to podcasts. So I'm like,
Really? Now, see,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. All right. I mean, that's interesting to know. Oh, okay. Not their interest, huh?
I don't know. I think TikTok is their thing. So
Yeah, that's probably it.
short attention span. Yeah.
That would make sense too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So generations, yeah, okay. I can see that. There's a question on the floor for you. It says, how do you get past people who pick you apart in what you write in a negative way?
I haven't come across anybody. I mean, well, there have been people that have tried to be like snarky. And I think like especially the title in particular, millennial kind of is a trigger word for many people. A lot of people try to be like, oh, these millennials, they do this and that. And it's just like, chill. Like I think like we just have a different mindset. Maybe and every generation has a different mindset. It's interesting to see like millennials have been attacked like for years, and Gen Z is like now like kind of like the new fresh people, and nobody's picking on them that much. So it just it's interesting. I'm like, they beat up on us, but they love y'all. So what are we doing?
Right,
Um,
right.
I mean,
Oh
to
my
people,
goodness.
and also I think like it's important to know that I'm not gonna please everybody. I'm not. My book is not for everybody, And I think like to know that who your audience is. It may not be for every single millennial. It may not be for every single person. There may be somebody that reads a little bit of my book and be like, this is not for me. And that's okay. I think that's, as a marketer, I understand that. Like, you find your audience, you find your community, and you stick to that. But yeah, I'm not, for the people that kind of pick it apart, I'm like, well, it's okay. There are other books out there that
Right.
may better.
So you don't let it get to you, is what you're saying.
I mean, I try not to. I mean, it's kind of hard, of course, because as an author, especially as you create something, it's your baby in a sense. I don't have kids, but I mean, that's my kid. And if somebody tries to come for it, of course I'm gonna be like, how dare you? But like I remember early in my author career, I had like one bad review, which made no sense. It was a 1 out of 5, and they said a great book for millennials, and I'm like, why would you give it a 1 out of 5?
Right.
I don't know whether they got confused and thought 1 out of 5 was good, or they really hated it because it was a book for millennials. But I'm like, you knew this in the title, so I don't know where where it went wrong.
Like, what were you thinking?
Right. But like I said before, I think like to know that you're not everybody is gonna like it, and that's okay. And that's with any creative work. Like you see bad reviews on Michelle Obama's book, which I'm like, how? How do you hate her book? It's autobiography too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes people will purposely do that. Maybe they're trying to sabotage for whatever reason. But yeah, I like your mentality. Not that it doesn't bother you, but you don't really let it get to you. You have to understand, number one, you're dealing with all kind of people out here. And then number two, your book just may not be for them. And that would be okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hopefully that answered your question, Auntie Deb. And Auntie Deb, you kind of talking a whole lot about authoring on today. So maybe you got something going on that we can look at later. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to put in the comment section the actual where you can the link for Amazon to get her book. And I'm going to pin that at the bottom so that you guys can make sure you click on it. And here, okay, it's going to let me pin it. All right, there we go. Okay, so if you look at the bottom of Facebook on this Facebook Live, you will see the name of the book and then also the link where you can go and purchase her book. And I know we're going to be wrapping up. And what I want to do is, let's see. She says, so is it like your book is like our life story? It's a springboard for whoever will receive it. Right. I think you kind of summarized what she said very well. So I guess that answered your question, Auntie Deb. Let's see. As an artist, your creations are our babies. We're sensitive about our stuff. Brandy, she summarized what you said as well. Elder Kevin McGee, you came in right on time because actually, guys, what I'm going to do is play a poem that Elder McGee wrote for today's segment. And I get excited when he writes poems. Yay. Elder McGee has a show entitled Connections on Saturdays at Intellectual Radio. And I'm sorry, I don't think I even gave a shout out to my producer over at Intellectual Radio for making sure that he places us on YouTube while we're live. So take a listen to this and we'll be right back.
Millennials, are you frustrated? Did adulthood and responsibilities creep up on you before you knew it? And now you have been thrust into this new area of living that didn't seem too hard while navigating through preteen and teen years, because when you were a child, you thought as a child, you spoke as a child, you viewed life through the eyes of a child. But when you grew up, reality set in, and now you have to excel in your career, raise a family, and now your children will sit in the seat where you once sat, viewing life through the eyes of Generation Z. But in the meantime, what do you do when frustration and stress settles in? Where do you go when you have all of a sudden become grown without addressing issues that you've encountered along the way? Although you look like you have everything all together, you really are afraid that you don't. In this millennium, what is a millennial to do when they're caught between a rock and a hard place, when they're caught between stress and frustration? Where can millennials go?
All right. Well, thank you, Elder McGee. What'd you think about it?
That was pretty cool. It was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, he normally tries to pin the spoken word relative to the topic of the day, and sometimes he surprises me.
Yeah. Oh, you slapped my fingers.
There you go. There you go. And you know, I can't snap with my right hand for some reason, but that's another story. But anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Cool.
Why don't you give me a wrap up? Because I know you have to get back because you do have your own 9-to-5er that you need to get back to. Wrap us up with maybe some words to encourage those of us that are watching and listening to you on today regarding the frustrations of life and relate it back to your book before we end on today.
Yeah, I think that we should really just focus on God. I just want to relate it back to the spirituality and just really focus on having Him to write our story. It's funny because when I tell people that, I wrote this story and I know the ending of how the characters go, but we have to know that God is writing our own story, and He knows the plots. He knows what is gonna, get us through. And so we just have to really just trust that He knows what He's doing and not to try to control the narrative. So I think that the biggest thing is just to have faith that everything will work out. I think of the scripture, all things work out for the good to them that love the Lord. Hopefully I'm saying it right. But that is true. Every bad thing, everything that wasn't good, or everything that's good, it's working out. And you have to trust that He's doing that.
Beautiful. That was a wonderful summary. Wonderful summary. And you used one of my favorite scriptures. Well, that is my absolute favorite. So yeah, you said it right.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good. It's important for each of us, and I hope that those of you that are listening and watching on today will take in what she has given us throughout this broadcast on today, and then her summarizing statement. Because we are going to be faced with things, but like she said, look to God. Know that it's all working for your good. It really is, and we have to trust and believe that. And they are loving. They're saying amen. They said that's good. All right. I see you guys, and I appreciate you guys. So Eugenia, thank you again, dear, for your time on today. I want to make sure to get you out of here at the right time so that
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, and we'll have you on again. And when you get a chance, if you can go back onto the Facebook Live, I'll tag you in the edited portion as well, and make sure you put in your information where they can find you, your book, your podcast, and all that information, so that they'll have it at their fingertips. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. You take care of yourself. Okay.
You too.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, guys, thank you again so much for joining me on today. I appreciate it. I'm going to share my ending. I thank you for your time. Yes, we only did an hour on today, but it's okay. It's okay. We appreciate you all for joining us and taking the time out to listen on today. So let me play this jingle so we can get out of here. You guys make sure you go to my website. If you have any questions about anything, we got some great things coming up. I have been really, really busy. I have been working on some great projects that I know that will be a blessing to the body of Christ. And I can't wait to share that with everyone. But in God's timing, I'll share it. But in the meanwhile, make sure you keep up with us weekly with our broadcasts, weekly with our podcasts. And we have some events that are coming up where I will be hosting. Seems like things are opening back up for us to be able to go out and be around people safely, that is. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody else on here. Janice, I see that you joined us. You will probably have to go back from the beginning and listen. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining in and listening to my wonderful guest on today. She was great, wasn't she? Make sure you guys go to Amazon and look up the book and purchase Confessions of a Frustrated Millennial. Also go wherever you get your podcast shows and look for A Scoop of Melanin. And then you can go to her website, Melanin and Happy is her online business shop, so that you can purchase her items. And she will make sure that have that information at your fingertips so that you can order and support her. All right, guys, let me share this so I can get out of here. On the next session of Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with ANet. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with ANet. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with ANet.
All right, guys, you know what I always tell you at the end of every broadcast, I want you guys to be safe. I want you to make sure you wash your hands, wear your mask, do your physical distancing when necessary, when needed. There is another rise of another variant. So I know that we've all busted out of our homes. We've hopped on airplanes. We want to go on our vacations. Please, whatever you do, we want to go to events, sporting events, music events. Make sure you're doing it safely. All right. Do not do anything that will hinder or harm you or your family. Let's be respectful of everyone's space. And because we want you healthy, we want you around, we want you to stick around. All right. So again, we're going to get out of here. Please go to my website, GetcaughtinANetRadio.com, GetcaughtinANetRadio.com, and you will see upcoming events. You will also see the recorded segments that we do here on Wednesdays or any other days that we do a broadcast. And you will also see the information regarding my podcast, which is called Mind Mending in the Net. I do need to push that a little bit more. Mind Mending in the Net is the name of my podcast, and you can get it on Spotify, Google, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast shows. Look for Mind Mending in the Net, where everything starts in the mind, which is my mantra. All right. We want you to subscribe and to follow us. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. All right. Not next week, as the promo said, but we'll see you the following week, which will be the last week of April. And we'll, of course, we'll feature Dr. Shirley Hill of MoFaith Nutritional Services for our health and wellness segment. Resurrection weekend is coming up, Good Friday and Sunday. So make sure you guys do what you need to do to worship and praise the Lord. We want to push and promote Christ, all right? Knowing that he is the one that died for us and have given us the key to life. And so we want to worship him on this weekend. So enjoy, go to church, enjoy your families, and we'll talk to you soon. I've talked enough today. Take care. Peace.